barely 3 weeks before the affected constituencies and local authorities can exercise their democratic rights through the ballot in the 9 December by-elections. 42 is the current number of CCC legislators and councillors that have been recalled since October 2023. Zimbabwe went to its polls on the 23rd and 24th of August 2023, and the democratic process stood as a glimmer of hope to Zimbabweans in being granted the power to vote for leaders of their choice. You are listening to the Girls Table podcast, a women's podcast that focuses on how women are taking up the leadership space. Thank you for choosing the Girls Table podcast as your number one podcast, and I'm your host, Duduzile Mathema. This year's harmonized elections ushered in the youth quota. And in the recalls observed since October, some members in the youth quota were added to the list of recalled legislators and councillors. In today's episode, I'm joined by an exceptional young woman who is an epitome of women's leadership, and she too was affected by these recalls. Her name is Evidence Zana. Welcome to the Girls Table podcast, Evidence. Thank you so much for making time for us as the Girls Table.
Thank you.
So let's start from the very beginning for you as a young woman leader. Accepting that you have been recalled and were no longer part of your political party may have been a bitter pill to swallow. So what went through your mind the moment you saw your name in that letter addressed to the Speaker of Parliament?
So first of all, I'd like to address the issue that it's not like I'm no longer part of the political party that I went to Parliament under. I'm still an active member in that political party, and it's just that there are other political connotations that took place, and that's how it ended up being recalled. So the first time I heard about being recalled wasn't in Parliament, because our names were already being published on social media. So the first time I saw my name, it came as a shock, because I was confused. I didn't know what was going on, and I was trying to figure out if I had done something wrong. But so knowing that I hadn't done anything wrong, I just told myself, I know maybe it's one of those social media things. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Evidence, for clarifying the matter, especially when it comes to your participation within your political party. At least it is now clear. So how would you be viewing the situation if you hadn't been recalled?
Okay, if I hadn't been recalled, I was still going to sympathize with those who have been recalled, because I can relate with recalls, because my father was a former councillor and he was recalled. I know how it feels to be recalled, especially when you're a loyal cadre and when you have plans for your constituency or for your ward. So I was going to sympathize and also show solidarity to those who were recalled if I hadn't been in this situation.
All right, Evidence. Let's focus on the fact that now you have been affected by the recalls. Where does it place you in terms of representation of young people?
Okay, so before I even went to Parliament, I was representing young people from my constituency, that is Kongola. I was strongly advocating against issues of drug abuse, youth participation, and I'm very passionate about youth in creatives and in art industry. So I was working towards amplifying their voices and using art as a tool of advocacy. So me not being in Parliament doesn't change anything. I'm still part of those young people, and I'm still doing what I used to do before I even went to Parliament. Me not being in Parliament only means that I cannot be their voice in Parliament only, but that doesn't stop me from working on youth issues. Thank you.
All right, spot on to be precise, especially as you're highlighting the fact that in as much as you're no longer in Parliament, it doesn't stop you from representing the needs of young people. So let's move on to something else, Evidence. Let's talk women's participation in politics. What have these recalls exposed about women's drive to occupy the space?
Okay, so these elections we had witnessed young people, young women taking spaces. Like we have seen young mayors who are women for the first time in history in Zimbabwe, and that came as an inspiration to other young women out there, that it shows that they can do it. And seeing those same people who they think they are their role models being recalled, it then demotivates them, because they will start thinking that they might also face the same fate if they had to participate in the political space. And also there is this issue of going to courts. Always it's straining and draining, and as women we have other things that we do besides these positions that we had in politics. So imagine the strain of having to go up and down, attending courts, and it also strains for those people. You would see that there are other women who have lost cases in courts before. So it also demotivates young women and other women out there from following the same route or taking any leadership positions, because they might sometimes not wanting to end up in that same position. And also I feel that these recalls were sort of a tool of silencing women from going to enhance women participation in politics. And also as a young woman, I feel like there is some sort of a generation jealousy, that there are people out there, the older generation, that doesn't want to see young women taking those spaces and leading, of which I feel like it's our time. They've led during their time, so they should just let other people also lead. So it really strains and it demotivates women from participating in politics.
As you're highlighting these facts, especially when we're talking about how women's participation in politics has been exposed in a certain manner, are you demotivated when it comes to your ability to take up the space as a young woman?
Well, personally, I'm not. I actually feel motivated, because it made me feel like they actually see me as a threat. Maybe that's why they called me. It actually boosted my confidence and my zeal to fight for young women's spaces in politics.
All right, Evidence. As we draw to a close in today's episode, speak directly to that young woman whose vision is to sit at the table.
Okay, what I can say to anyone out there that would also want to sit on the table is that if you want to take this journey, you have to press up for anything. Anything, because you will face insults, you face betrayal, and you also have to know that this is not a job. You have to have a setback plan or the other things that are income generating besides politics. This is not a job. You're coming here to advocate and to represent people. So if you take it that way, you won't have to struggle much, and you won't be diverted from the cause. Yeah, because I've noticed that a lot of people end up diverting from the cause because of money, because they have no setback plans. Even if it means that you have to keep chickens or look for a project that you have to do as a woman, so that you don't end up being bought by money.
Those are strong sentiments, I must say. And thank you so much, Evidence, for making time for us as the Girls Table podcast.
Thank you for this platform and this opportunity.
There you've had it, TGT podcasters. We've deliberated on this uncomfortable issue of recalls with a leader whose work continues to speak volumes for her. In today's episode, we were joined by one exceptional, outstanding woman leader and politician based in Bulawayo, and her name being Evidence Zana. Do make time for the podcast as we delve deeper into how women are taking up the leadership space. I am Duduzile Mathema, and it's a wrap.